Alright, so in today's video we're going to be going over how to fertilize a prayer plant. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe. I am constantly trying to come out with new videos to help you with houseplant care, and I really appreciate it. Alright, so diving right in, you don't need a whole lot of materials to fertilize your prayer plant. You need your plant, of course. I have mine here that I propagated a couple months ago, so it's not too huge yet. And then you need your fertilizer, of course. I have here Schultz plant food. We'll be going over what exactly it contains so that we know why we're fertilizing and what's in our fertilizer. And then you're also going to need some sort of container. I have a bucket in the back that I use, and I use a measuring cup to measure out the water. Alright, so I use a 10-15-10 Schultz plant food. It's a liquid fertilizer that you can just drop into water. I've been pleased with it and like it. I'll include a link down below in case you don't have any fertilizer that you've bought yet. But with whatever fertilizer you choose, I do recommend a 10-15-10, and just make sure you read the directions. And if you aren't sure what those numbers really mean, don't worry, I'm about to go over them right now so that you can take an educated approach to fertilizing your prayer plant. So that first number on our fertilizer stands for nitrogen. Those three numbers, respectively, will always stand for N, P, K on your fertilizer. They're the three main macronutrients that your plant will need, and that's the percentage of active ingredients found in the fertilizer. So nitrogen is a major component of chlorophyll. It allows the plant to absorb energy, and it kind of controls the entire greenness factor of a plant. So it's a very important macronutrient for your prayer plant to have. Next macronutrient listed is phosphorus, or P. It helps build roots, buds, and flowers. So for flowering plants, it's very important, and your prayer plant can flower. So this is a really good one that it needs, a really great macronutrient that it needs. It also helps with cell division and tissue production, and like I said earlier, it enhances a plant's capacity to flower. That last number on our fertilizer listed is K, which stands for potassium, and potassium helps the overall vigor of a plant. It catalyzes its enzymes and gets them going. It also regulates stomatas, which are the little pore spaces, I guess, on the underside of your plant's leaves, allowing it to breathe. So now that you have an understanding of what your fertilizer is providing for your plant, we're going to go ahead and start the process. I'm just measuring out the water, putting it in a clean bucket. Just make sure that you are adding the right amount of water for the right amount of fertilizer that you are adding. I'm doing quite a bit because I have a lot of plants to fertilize besides just my prayer plant. So for you, it might be a little less water than what I'm adding right here. Now I'm just adding in the fertilizer to the water, and I'll give it a good mix around to make sure it's all incorporated in there. Just make sure that you are adding the right amount of fertilizer. If you're scared about adding too much, just go on the more conservative side, or else you do risk causing fertilizer burn in your prayer plant, where the edge of the leaves will start to crisp up, or entire leaves, or they'll start to turn yellow. If you do notice this, don't worry, you can simply leach out the soil by putting your plant under running water and just having water run through your soil and having it come out the bottom. Now I place my prayer plant in a sink so that the fertilizer water that I'm adding has a place to drain through. You want to thoroughly soak all the soil in the pot so that it does come out of the drainage holes. That way all the roots have access to the nutrients you are adding in the fertilizer. And I should mention, if you do not have drainage holes on your pot, just be very careful about how much you add, because you don't want excess water just sitting at the bottom of your pot and causing root rot. And last thing, and probably the most important, is how often should you do this? So my prayer plant is sitting at a little desk by a window, so it's getting a decent amount of light, not too much. And so I would recommend, if your prayer plant is in low light, fertilize it about 2 to 3 times a year. And if it is in high light, I recommend fertilizing it about 4 to 6 times a year. I fertilize according to the light levels because that kind of determines how fast my prayer plant is growing. If it's growing fast because it has high light, I want to be fertilizing it more because it's uptaking nutrients more. So just keep that in mind as you're fertilizing. You know your prayer plant best because you know where it's placed, you know if it's growing quickly or slowly, and you want to fertilize according to that. And that is that. You now know how to fertilize your prayer plant. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope it goes well and that your prayer plant thrives with the fertilizer that you're giving it. Comment below with how it went for you, or let me know of any suggestions you have for future videos. And again, I always appreciate new subscribers. It really helps me out. Thank you guys.